It's been how many years since the world freed Nelson Mandela from out of prison? It's been what, 6 years, 7 years? But I remember the occasion very, very, very clearly. And at this time, I just want to say to all the people here, the show tonight, respect must be given when respect is due. I think you should all give yourselves a nice round of applause for being there and being part of the fight against apartheid. Come on. Yeah. And we just want to continue to welcome all freedom fighters wherever they are tonight. And at this time, we also need to think about Haiti, our fellow Caribbeanites, if you want to put it that way. 2, 3, and welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home, oh, oh. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home, oh, oh. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home, oh, oh. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. Oh, yes, me friend, make good rain. Say you free again. Oh Lord, give me a little calypso, man. Yes, me friend, make good rain. They are sweet again. Yeah, everybody, one more time. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. 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 27 years or more, locked in captivity. Wisdom and hope for the poor, joy for you and me. Apartheid has no place in society. Black and white for equal opportunity. Democracy, peace, and freedom in one but love. They won't stop the war. We can start the arms. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. 'Cause what we want a Mandela Day. We want a Mandela Day. We want. Did you hear that? We want a Mandela Day. Well, we think it's all Mandela Day. We want a Mandela Day. We want one. And guess what? If Mr. Mandela was here tonight, I know he would have felt very proud of you. And if he had had a chance to speak to you, I know he would have given you something like this. Now I'm back on my feet again. I walk proud down the street again. And they all look at me again. And they know that I'm strong. Oh, 'cause from a distance you look like my friend, even though we are at home. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Bang, 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 bang. Hear me now, hear me now. Listen, brother, people said to hear me now, pom pom. And if Brother Bob Marley was here tonight, he too would have felt proud of you. And if he had a chance to sing something for you, I know he would have given you something like this. He was a buffalo soldier. Come on, everybody. Dreadlock Rasta. Buffalo soldier. In the war for America. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. 27 years or more locked in captivity. Wisdom and hope for the poor, joy for you and me. Apartheid has no place in society. Black and white for equal opportunity. Democracy, peace, and freedom in one bundle. They won't stop the war. We can start the arms. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home. 'Cause what we want a Mandela Day. We want a Mandela Day. We want. Did you hear that? We want a Mandela Day. Well, we think it's all Mandela Day. We want a Mandela Day. We want one. And guess what? If Mr. Mandela was here tonight, I know he would have felt very proud of you. And if he had had a chance to speak to you, I know he would have given you something like this. Now I'm back on my feet again. I walk proud down the street again. And they'll all look at me again. And they know that I'm strong. Oh, 'cause from a distance you look like a friend, even though we are at home. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Bang, 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 bang. Hear me now, hear me now. Listen, brother, people say so. Hear me now, pom pom. And if Brother Bob Marley was here tonight, he too would have felt proud of you. And if he had a chance to sing something for you, I know he would have given you something like this. He was a buffalo soldier. Come on, everybody. Red Rasta. Buffalo soldier. In the war for America. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. Welcome home.
The indomitable, one of the sweet voices of reggae music, Carlene Davis, best known to us for Stealing Love, but there she was paying homage to Nelson Mandela. Welcome home, Mr. Mandela. And I just felt like some Mandela tonight because you know we got to take strength from our icons. Good evening to you and welcome to Politics 101. We're expecting Rickford Burke here tonight. He has the government jumping. All over the place. Yeah. Rickford is going to be here. We're going to be talking about the latest saga because it seems as though every other week they're on Rickford Burke's case. Good evening to you and welcome to Politics 101 on a Tuesday night. I see one of my classmates on tonight. You know, when you get to a certain age and you look back, you remember the people that you sat in bench with and grew up with and learned to read and write with and so forth. Good evening to Jacqueline Springer, who I went to school with, my schoolmate, long time ago. And it's good to see Jacqueline on the program. You know what? One of the wonderful things about doing this is that you grow up with people and you never knew that they were political, because there were those of us who were out front from the time we were little boys and little girls. Some of us were out front with the politics. The majority of our people weren't. And so when you see some of your classmates in this politics thing now, you kind of check back and say, you don't judge a book by its cover, because you're realizing that people always had a political consciousness. They just weren't out there. Good evening to you, Jacqueline, and my condolences. I know you all lost your father and mother in quick succession. And there were two people I knew, especially your mother, as you know. I was very fond of her, and whenever I dropped by, she would always treat me like a son. It's difficult to lose both parents in quick succession, but they lived long and productive lives, and so on. So I would like to say good evening to you. Good evening to you, Jacqueline. And it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Thank God for social media. Thank God for social media. So here we are. This evening, we're going to be talking to Rickford about what's happening there with the government. As we said, he has the government jumping all over the place. It seems as though Rickford reported them to the U.S. authorities, the FBI and others, about the violation of his human rights and violation of the human rights of all Guyanese. And the government has written to the United States saying that Rickford is not telling the truth, and that they have some charges against Rickford, and the charges are that Rickford tried to extort some businessman, kind of nonsensical. But this is the kind of thing that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and that we have to get rid of. The government said it's consulting lawyers in the United States to go after Rickford Burke. Now, you can find money to pay lawyers to go after Rickford Burke, but you can't find money to pay teachers. You're finding money to go after Rickford Burke. Rickford Burke is doing God's work. He's doing the people of Guyana work. And insofar he's doing you anything, he's exposing you as a government. You are paying big money to go after him. And you can't pay the teachers of Guyana a living wage. You're offering them 10%. 10%. 50% of the teachers are earning $120,000 or less. So at 10% of $120,000 is $12,000. And by the time you add tax to that, it goes down less than $12,000. And by the time you put the cost of living onto it, it's really less than zero. If there is such a thing as less than zero. Zero. 10% raise to the teachers is no raise at all. It's no raise. And I am so angry at the government fighting teachers. You fight them. You use the power of the state to beat them. They wanted to erase from 2019. You fight them back. And you rub out 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 5 years, you rob them. You rob them of 5 years of income. And now in 2024, you're offering them a 0% raise, zero raise. 10% of $120,000 is $12,000. When you add the cost of living to that, is nothing. 10% is nothing. And I said last night, and I'm saying it again, because you were hearing whispers that some of the union leaders wanted to go and sign for that 10%. And I said it last night, I'm saying it again. And I noticed when I read the newspapers today, I didn't have to say it, but I said it last night. Anytime you see the teachers' union accept any nonsense for wage, revolt against your union. You've already revolted against the government. And if your union is going to take the pittance that the government is in, revolt against the union. And apparently the teachers themselves have decided, without any push from people like myself, to revolt against the union, tell the union, you're not signing that. The government that can find money to run and to pay big lawyers to go after Rickford Burke can't find money to pay its teachers. You all see why this government has to go. This government has to go. It has to go. Good evening to all of you, and I think Rickford is ready for us, so let's bring Rickford in. Rickford, good evening, my brother.
Good night, Dr. Hines. How are you? Good night.
I am here surviving and paying attention to what's going on. I am not as important as you are as far as the government is concerned, because they're not spending big money, lawyer me. They're not writing the FBI and all that story and so on. But in all seriousness, Rickford, it seems as though every other month there is something that the government responds to what you're doing. Give us some context in this latest development. What is this thing about?
Well, Dr. Hines, thanks for having me. As you know, we filed a number of complaints against the government with the Justice Department, the State Department, and then most recently the FBI because of the criminal conduct of the government. And a few weeks ago, I got wind, or 2 weeks ago, or last week, I think I got wind that the matter was concluding, the investigation was concluding, and that they would start to ask questions of the government. This is an investigation that has been going on since we got information about a plot to have me killed. That's in 2022. And we met with the FBI, not only me, several Guyanese leaders who have been threatened. And like I've said, including Paul Slow, we met with the FBI. In Mr. Slow's case, they reviewed the spectacle of the government trying to rip his arms off of the post on the step and all of that. There was a principle that a PPP gentleman who hangs out with Barry Jack Levin, the Attorney General, who's made several terroristic threats against Afro-Guyanese in the United States. At one point in time, he traveled from Canada to a woman's house here in Brooklyn and threatened her with a gun. His name is Victor Singh. And the principal is a principal of a middle school, and he threatened to blow up her school. And of course, that's going to trigger an FBI investigation.
And of course, these are still allegations because they've not been.
They're allegations
in a court.
They're allegations.
So they're still allegations at this point. Go right ahead, Rickford.
But coming back to me, there has been a substantial investigation going for the longest while. And what the government did not know is that the FBI had the entire file of this alleged case, this purported case of extortion that they kept harping back to because they felt that that's their only probably effort to get Rickford. So somehow they concocted a story between, I understand, allegedly between Barry Jagdeo, the Attorney General, and the police, concocted some story to have somebody go and say, I conspired with them to extort people. The problem with that is that when you make those kinds of allegations, you have to have evidence. And they have been lying all the way. And I think that they have mistaken the FBI and the United States government for Guyana and the Guyana Police Force, which has absolutely no integrity and no credibility. So the FBI, the government of Guyana yesterday announced that the FBI has notified them that they're investigating this matter and they had to respond. And they responded with some incredible, fantastic claims that are out of this world. The Attorney General said a gentleman by the name of Alex Wayne, in his statement, told the police that he is my agent, and I sent him to extort businessmen in Guyana. Businessmen. I extort businessmen. But they could come up with one person and said that this guy said, I am the chief, what's how they termed it? I'm the mastermind of an extortion conspiracy. The problem with that, and they said also that this is a response to the FBI, that I have been inciting widespread violence in Guyana, that I am inciting racial hostility, that I am targeting hundreds of business people, and I've been attacking people of various ethnicities by the hundreds. And so they had to step in, I guess because I am so evil, and that my allegations, they said that I told the FBI that they sent a police officer to kidnap me. Maybe that was their intent, to kidnap me. I never made that allegation. I said we gave the FBI information about a plot to have me lured to Guyana and kidnapped and killed on the highway. And that was an absolute plan because there were recordings of it. There was a recorded telephone conversation. And stuff like that. And so they said they welcome the FBI would investigate this matter. And they called on the FBI to charge me with filing a false report. But now what they don't know, Dr. Hines, is like I said, the FBI has all of the information about this case. The FBI has all of the videos of what happened around my house. The FBI has recorded conversations of people discussing hiring a hitman to kill me. All of that. And I don't know how the government of Guyana, particularly the Attorney General, is going to get out of this. He lied several times in this in this statement and in his letter to the FBI. For instance, he said that Sarabo never came close to my house, the policeman that they sent, that he was across the street, 100 feet away. Well, the video that the police released showed him coming out of his car and walking straight into my yard. He also said that the policeman hired some process servicer to serve me some document, and I accepted the document. And the same video that the police released showed that the gentleman tried to give me something, and I walked away and asked him to get off my step. And the man said, well, since you don't want to accept it, I'll leave it right on your step. The police came and retrieved that document, and then the FBI came and seized it. I never even touched it. So, and then he said that it is every allegation that I made to the FBI, he said, is wholly unfounded, absolutely false, and he considers them to constitute a malicious attack on the government. And it's integrity, reputation, and good name. The PPP guy, integrity, reputation, and good name and international standing that I am attacking. And he said everything is false. Now, the FBI notified them that one of the allegations they're investigating is that they sent a policeman to my house to threaten me with a gun. In the very statement, Dr. Hines, the very statement that the FBI issued, the first thing that you can see in one of the paragraphs is that in order to serve a summons on Mr. Burke, a duly authorized police officer traveled to New York and retained the services of a process servicer. And they went to my house and served it. But yet still, he's saying that every allegation is false. And he's a lawyer. He's the Attorney General.
Mr. Rickford Burke here tonight, walking us through the latest saga in relation to the government and the pursuit of Rickford Burke. They seem to be obsessed with him, and to the point where they continue to spend a lot of money sending a policeman to America to go and serve things. Now, in their own words, they say they are talking to U.S. lawyers. And U.S. lawyers is not penny lawyer. You got paid them big money. And so there are two stories here. There are two stories here. The continued persecution, harassment of Rickford Burke, which is a violation of his human right. And of all the things they said he's fomenting violence. I'm in Guyana right now. I don't see any violence. I wonder where this violence that he's fomenting. And so it's a violation of this brother's human rights. And it's a way to get him to shut up. And the government is using money, using the power of the state. So that's the one story. The second story is this is a government that cannot find money to pay teachers a living wage, to pay public servants a living wage, to pay the police a living wage. But they can find money to hire big lawyers to go after Rickford Burke for extorting money from some businessman. It's not the businessman. It's engaging Rickford Burke in some civil matter. This is the government of Guyana, no less a person than the Attorney General, who is going after Rickford Burke. This is what we are faced with, brothers and sisters. This is a kitchen garden government. This is a cake shop government, and I may be doing some dishonor to kitchen gardeners.
Exactly.
And to cake shop owners. But I was just trying to make a comparative analysis between a government which is supposed to be mega, macro, and engaging like what we would say in Guyanese parlance, operating like a little boy. That is
actually, Dr. Hines, I don't think
service to little boys.
I don't think they're operating like a little boy. I think they're operating like a criminal gang and an authoritarian government. That's what they are. Now, for instance, and you know what? It is. I have never seen. I don't know how they could come out of this with integrity. And
they have to have integrity first. They ain't got none. They can't come out of it with what they don't get.
Exactly. But I met with law enforcement officers today, and they told me that people in the government will be charged. Now, for instance,
charged by whom?
By the U.S. law enforcement. I was told that there will be charges in this case. Now, nothing the government has said is true. Nothing. Now, for instance, this is the Attorney General of Guyana. He said the government has lodged a comprehensive complaint with the U.S., a comprehensive report against Rickford Burke with the U.S. Justice Department, State Department, Federal Bureau of Investigations, and other agencies within the U.S. regarding his utterances and publication on social media of criminal incitements, exciting, and this is the Attorney General wrote this himself, exciting racial hostility and widespread violence against different ethnic groups of the country, domestic terrorism, and wanton malicious defamatory attacks on the character and reputation of hundreds of outstanding Guyanese. These authorities have been invited to explore all mutual legal facilities, he talked about extradition, to ensure the allegations are fully investigated with the institution of relevant criminal proceedings. Now, I think Anil Nanlal might be extradited because he has made up everything here. Remember, he said early in his statement that if the FBI finds that my complaint is false, they must be charged. I think the same thing goes for him, right? He is not above the law. He thinks he's a god. So the FBI investigated this matter. If this FBI did not find merit, Dr. Hines, in my complaint and all of the evidence we provided to them, they wouldn't have sent anything to the government of Guyana for comment. And the FBI collected all the evidence, and then they sent to the government of Guyana for a response. So the FBI know that all of this is trash. But think about it. This is the Attorney General of a country. And everything he's doing, as a matter of fact, I was told by the FBI agents, they deem his actions to be retaliatory. Now, why they said that? During the 2020 campaign, when I was challenging them forcefully, Anil Nanalal wrote on a blog called The Unruly Horse, in this case, I would say Unruly Mule, that when he gets into government, he will personally pursue me for attacking the PPP as racist. He will personally pursue me, including trying to get me, he will get me extradited. This is before he came into power. And I've provided all of this to the FBI. Then when they came into power, he got Nia Suban from the Ethnic Relations Commission to submit a motion to in the commission that the commission must file charges against me for racial hostility, violating the Racial Hostility Act. I don't even live in Guyana. And then the lawyer for the commission wrote a report to them, which I have, and gave to the FBI, that they're wrong, that I have free speech rights, and they cannot tell somebody in another country what to do. He didn't finish there. He got on national television and said, I'm a rapist. I rape a child in the United States. I'm on the sex registry of the United States. He said that I rob Indian businessmen and run from Guyana, even though my father was a senior police officer and I was a special assistant to the president of the country when I left Guyana. He said that I rob Indian men, businessmen, and run from the country. He also said I stole money from Desmond Hoyt, and Desmond Hoyt fired me from Congress Place. When I left Congress Place, I had the biggest farewell party that Mr. Hoyt threw, and Mr. Hoyt wrote my recommendation to enter college and grad school. But this is the nature of the man. In addition to that, he wasn't satisfied with that because I responded to him. He came here, we had a big protest. Dr. Hines, the day after the protest, I got a call from a law enforcement officer saying that he witnessed Anil Nanalal in a plot to have me killed, saying that if somebody can set me up so the NYPD could get rid of me, then he has a named person to get rid of me because I must be gotten rid of. Then you had a police officer from Guyana came here under the pretext of investigating me and end up talking to a hitman who is now cooperating with the FBI.
Of course, Rickford, all of these are allegations because they have not been proven in a court of law. But we just want to make it very clear
Yes.
so that our audience
Yes.
understands your train of thought. Go right ahead.
So all of that was investigated. I can tell you that there are tape recordings here involved here. There are interviews. Now, with regard to Guyana, when they first started this case to try to frame me, police officers felt so outraged. They contacted me and I notified the FBI of their comments. They have spoken with the FBI and given sworn statements to the FBI about plans in the Guyana police force to frame me and all of this. Now, Anand said the police issued a statement, right? The police issued a statement when this complaint was sent to the government of Guyana. The police, in order to frame their lie that they were going to send to the US government, they had the police issue a statement to give it some sort of official stamp, right? And that's why these people should not be in government, because they're abusing their positions. So the police issue a statement saying, oh, did somebody testified in court, and specifically a gentleman by the name of Alex Wayne testified in court and said he knows me. And Darwin Best told him that I'm a friend of his and a business partner. I don't even know who's that. Never met the man, never heard of him before, never spoke to him. The police force issued a statement, Dr. Hines. And may I inform you, I don't know if you saw it earlier, a very conscientious police source leaked his videotaped interview with Alex Wayne to me, which I submitted to the FBI. And on that video, the police asked him, do you know Rickford Burke? He said, no. Have you ever heard of Rickford Burke? He said, the only thing he heard is that I'm a friend of Darwin Best. The man said, have you ever spoken to Rickford Burke? He said, no. On video. On video. That's the Ghana Police Force and the Attorney General for you.
And of course, you were able to turn that over to the FBI.
The FBI has had that tape for 1 year.
Good evening to all of you. Those of you who are now joining us, yes, it's Rickford Burke, and it's not the conversation with Rickford Burke show. Rickford is in conversation, and it's Politics 101, and he is bringing us up to speed with the latest phase of harassment by the government of Guyana on this brother. It's been going on now for years and years, and they seem not to stop. Rickford, I know you're involved here, but how do you feel that this government is going to spend big money? They said it in the statement there. They're consulting US lawyers. Spending big money, but not able to find money to pay teachers a living wage. Comment on that, please.
Well, I don't believe that. And if they do, I wish them well, because we have lawyers here too, but we have ethics.
Yes, no, I understand that. What I'm saying.
The lawyers, the lawyers that they hire, I would happy to see them go to court in a US court and present Adenana lies, because they'll lose their license. This is not Guyana.
I'm talking about the money
I feel special.
Yeah.
I feel special that they're paying me all this attention. And it's not really me, because Barrett Jagde has said, and one of Barrett Jagde's operatives wrote in the newspaper that they plan to go to the Republicans to bring down any Democrat that defend me. Barrett Jagde has told people that he is attacking me because he wants to see which Democratic politician will defend me so he can go to the Republicans and bring them down. That's one. Number two, they think that by getting me ensnared in all sorts of scandals and accusations of extortion and criminality and labeling me a criminal, that my political friends would be so weary of associating with me that they would want to run and distance themselves from me. And alas, Jagde will conquer me and he'll be able to kill me with his death squad. I think that's what they think. But I'm a different Afro-Guyanese That right? Just like you, I come directly from the slaves. Directly. I have the blood of the indomitable ancestors.
You mean
And
the enslaved? You mean the people who were forcibly enslaved, not the
the
slaves?
force, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And so just like the slaves fought the colonial masters, I intend to do the same thing with the PPP until not only they stop harassing me, but until they stop attempting to subjugate and enslave my African brothers and sisters and all other Guyanese.
Yes. What do you make of this attempt? Clearly, they're spending money to go after you. What do you make of that? Finding money to go after you, but not being able to pay the teachers a living wage.
One, they're not really, even though they're after me, they're after my influence.
Yes.
They're
No,
after my
I
influence.
just
And
want to get your comment
they
on.
think by criminalizing me and staying in Guyana and fabricate criminal charges against me that people would not, who have influence, I have influence over, will not listen to me
Yeah,
anymore
we
and
got
would
that.
view
We
me
got
as a
that,
criminal.
Rickford. What I want for you to comment on
Mhm.
is the fact that the government is spending all this money, because they got to be spending money to be going after you day in, day out, month in, month out. But they can't find money to pay the teachers. What kind of government is that?
Well, the same government that is giving contracts to their relatives and friends in the billions, but they can't find money to pay the teachers or pay the police officers that they're using. The same government that is spending oil money to enrich themselves and can't find money to pay the teachers. They're immoral. They don't have any morality. They don't care. They see Rickford Burke as a threat, and they're going to spend whatever money they can to get rid of that
Is
threat.
10%, is a 10% raise to the teachers this year, 9% next year? Is that adequate?
I think it's an insult to the teachers. And at the same time, they're going to Parliament and ask for billions more in subventions to pay the cane catchers. Because Gaisuko, as you saw, had some billions of dollars in shortfall. And so they have to pay the people. So they're pumping all this money into Gaisuko, but they don't want to pay public servants. And I suspect they're treating the teachers that way because the majority of the teachers are Afro-Guyanese. And this government seems to think that Afro-Guyanese should not benefit equally from the economic resources of the country and the revenues, the oil and gas revenues of the country. They seem to have a chronic objection to Afro-Guyanese having a decent standard of living in Guyana.
I want you, Rickford, to expand on the point you made there. The linkage between the supplementary monies that they went to Parliament and got the other day to go to Gaisuko. So the linkage between that and the unequal or inequitable distribution of wealth along ethnic lines. Because on the face of it, somebody could say, well, what's wrong in helping Gaisuko? It's a national company, it's Gaisuko is too big to fail, to use an old American saying, and nothing is wrong with it, but you hit on something there, which is a subtext. Gaisuko, the people who are employed in Gaisuko, are mostly our Indian Guyanese sisters and brothers. The people who are teachers are mostly African Guyanese. The government is refusing to pay the teachers a living wage, but they've gone to Parliament a mere months after a huge $1.1 trillion to ask for more money for Gaisuko. I want you to expand on the ethnic implications of that scenario that I just painted there.
Well, frankly, it's a transfer of the wealth of the country to their ethnic supporters. The sugar belt and the workers in the sugar belt are the consummate supporters of the government. They're the most avid PPP supporters, and so they want to make sure that their base is happy, and so they will spare nothing to ensure that the Gaisuko workers, their East Indian brothers and sisters who mostly support the PPP, get whatever they want in terms of their share of the pie of the national revenue. But for teachers,
nothing is wrong with Rickford. I don't think you would say don't pay cane cutters, don't pay sugar workers well.
But don't neglect others. Don't neglect the teachers.
Yes, and that's where I want you to go now.
Right.
So that nobody's going to say that Rickford Burke was on the David Hines Politics 101 show, and he said that sugar workers should not be paid well. You are not saying that.
I'm not saying that, but they're going to say that anyway. I'm not saying that. I'm like you. I'm expressing a concern about the inequity. They're paying sugar workers all of this money. And the funny thing about it, they're paying an industry that is failing. They're wasting billions of dollars, pumping all this money into an industry that is failing, that is not meeting targets, but they're refusing to pay teachers who have to educate the nation's children. And it is, to me, contemptuous I don't agree with the teachers union to drop their demands from all these years that they have not had any collective bargaining, and now come to the government to just, for this year, give them 10%. I mean, I've never seen any government so callous and disrespectful to citizens, especially teachers. All of the countries I know really honor their teachers as noble servants of the people. Not this government. This government is contemptuous of the teachers, and it is all rooted in race politics.
All rooted in race politics with Burke tonight. As you've seen on the screen, Coffee 250 invites you to its 11th annual forum on the state of African Guyanese. The theme is equity or back to slavery. Let me repeat that. Equity or back to slavery. The role of the state and government in achieving the goals of the UN decade. The moderator of the event will be Adriana Thomas, and the speakers are Aubrey Norton, leader of the PNC and the opposition, Nigel Hughes, leader of the ASC, David Hines, co-leader of the WPA, Henry Jeffrey, political commentator, and Olive Sampson, IPADA-G CEO. The event is this coming Sunday, 18th of August. It begins at 2 p.m. at Critchlow Labour College. It's a hybrid event. You can join in person, those of you who are in Guyana, and you can join online. Again, Coffee 250, 11th Annual Forum on the State of African Guyanese. The theme is equity or back to slavery. The role of the state and government in achieving the goals of the UN decade. The speakers are Aubrey Norton, Nigel Hughes, David Hines, Henry Jeffrey, Olive Sampson. And it's this Sunday, 2 p.m. at the Critchlow Labour College. And those of you who are out of Guyana or out of the vicinity of Georgetown, you can join via Zoom. The Zoom information is there on the flyer. So please, on Sunday, carve out 2-3 hours to attend that forum, because it is dealing with the issue that Rickford is raising here, and that is the issue of equity. And what Coffee 250 is saying, that the choice before African Guyanese, Rickford, is either African Guyanese be treated equitably, or it's a case of us going back to slavery. Is Coffee 250 exaggerating the situation?
Oh, absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, you guys might get a letter from the Attorney General saying that is unconstitutional. Black people cannot need to have a discussion about racial injustice and equity in the country, and inequity. So hopefully we don't have that situation again. And I hope if it occurs, it'll be a very harsh and robust pushback. I'm happy that you guys are having that discussion, because we need to start discussing equity. This government does not believe in equity. This government does not believe Afro-Guyanese should have a fair share of the country's pie, of the natural patrimony, and of the oil and gas revenues. And so they're conducting this campaign of economic genocide. And you know they've already committed genocide against us with the death squad. So I'm happy that there's this discussion coming up. I would like to see more young people engage in these activities, come and listen to the history, come and listen to the voices of wisdom of our more mature citizens and our researchers who have very, very valuable information on these topics. And so I hope that there'll be a strategy to engage our young people. And you know, I see the party culture, and I worry about it. And so I urge that we find strategies to inculcate and educate our young people about the virtue of being Afro-Guyanese, the valuable lessons to be learned from the history of the PPP and how they have attempted to destroy our race in Guyana from 1964 all the way down to 1990, when Bart came in, 1999 or whatever, when they started with the death squad killings. A lot of young people don't know about that. They grew up in this almost autocratic culture of the PPP where they're scared to say anything, and so they turn to party and socializing and entertainment to distract them from the fact that they live in an autocratic society and they can't speak. You know, this entire week here and last week, I've been meeting Guyanese who are on vacation, and they express fear. Listen, I can't say nothing, but you know, thanks for the good work you're doing, but don't say nothing, don't call me. I mean, I have never seen this fear over a people. And I want to know, why is it acceptable?
It's not acceptable. I don't think it's acceptable. But I understand what you mean. Why are people not revolting against it?
Yeah.
Not revolting do not necessarily mean that they accept it, you know. But your point is, why is there not a revolt? There are revolts all over the world. There are revolts in
Bangladesh, Kenya.
All over the place.
Yeah.
And so I take your point. Some of you are saying the information is not as visible as it should be. They use very small fonts. So I will read information again. Coffee 250 invites you to the 11th annual forum on the state of African Guyanese. The theme is equity or back to slavery, the role of the state and government in achieving the goals of the UN. The forum is going to be held this Sunday, August 18, at 2 p.m. Guyana time, at the Critchlow Labour College. The speakers they are inviting the speakers of the three major opposition parties, Aubrey Norton, leader of the PNC, Nigel Hughes, leader of the AFC, David Hines, co-leader of the WPA. In addition, Henry Jeffrey, political commentator, will be presenting, and Olive Sampson, CEO of IPAD-G. The moderator is Sister Adriana Thomas, and it's a hybrid event. And so those of you who can be there in person, and the rest of you who are not in the vicinity or the locality, you can join via Zoom. The flyer is going to be on Politics 101 page, or on my personal page. You can go there and get the information. Our apologies for the small fonts that they used on the flyer. Rickford, as we move into elections next year, are you satisfied that the elections would be free and fair?
No.
From where you are sitting right now?
Absolutely not. It cannot be fair and fair with the flawed voters list. As we know, the voters list has about almost 100,000 extra names on them. And the list is bloated. Somehow the PPP is resistant to that because they committed massive voter fraud in the last elections, and they've managed to get the court to say once those ballots are in the box, they can't be removed. And so we have to make sure all of a sudden the PPP doesn't believe that there should be biometrics to ensure that a person coming to vote, their information that they will present matches the information on the voters list on the that the election workers have. That's standard all around the world. And as a matter of fact, the PPP was for it before they got into power. Now they're against it because they know that it's a way of catching fraud, and they want to continue to perpetuate fraud. I believe that if the Elections Commission, the majority of the PPP members of the Elections Commission, and that includes Claudette Singh, if they do not vote for new house-to-house registration and biometrics, I don't believe the opposition should participate in the elections.
Rickford Burke here tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have Eric Phillips here. Eric Phillips is right now doing battle in the newspapers, Rickford, with some people, Ravi Dev and others from Roar.
I see.
You know, back in the day, Ravi Dev and Roar used to be in favor of power sharing. They said that African and Indians and Amerindians should share power in Guyana back in the day. Now they've become a degenerated bunch of angry, racially insensitive old men who, now that there is oil money and that Indian Guyanese elite are in control of that money, they no longer agree with sharing government, sharing power with Africans. They have now said, we don't need to share power. We don't need to share power. We are a nation of minorities. They really don't want to share power because the money is now in the hands of the Indian elite. So they went from being power sharers now to power dominators. Ravi Dev and the Roar people are sitting down there clapping when the PPP, sharing the PPP on to go into African Guyanese communities and to catch us like they did in the old days. That's why I call them slave catchers, to catch us and deliver us to the PPP. That is what they think of Black people. These all degenerate bunch of angry, racially insensitive old men who want to beat up and are supporting the government beating up on Black people because of what they say, burn them, do them. And so Eric is doing battle with them, and Eric is going to be here tomorrow night. They no longer want to share power with Black people because they got the money in their hand. They say Indian people like money, Black people don't like money, Black people like sport. So they want to go catch us, to go and sing and dance to them. Rickford Burke, what do you make of those wankers over there in Roar?
I think they're ethnic supremacists. They believe that they always believe that. I didn't buy for 1 second their conversation about shared governance. Shared governance is only important to them when they're not in power.
Mm-hmm.
And equity is important to them when they're not in power. They want to make sure that their ethnic collective has equal access to the resources of the country. Now they're in power, they don't believe that anymore. It's like the PPP was calling for constitution reform. Now that they're in power, they don't believe the constitution should be reformed. And I've been saying it all the time. These people do not believe in equality. They don't believe Afro-Guyanese are entitled to equality and equal rights and justice. They see us as second-class citizens, some sort of people beneath them. And I think it is congenital. And in some cases, it's congenital. And I'm not sure what we do as a nation. Maybe when that generation pass on, the younger generation that interacts more, went to school, go to school with each other and so on, will begin to change that. But I think I'm seeing that they're also now trying to ingratiate it into younger generations. And so I'm not sure where our country is going, but I know for sure the country cannot be developed by one race. The country cannot, the East Indian race is not a majority race in the country. It's not. And so we all have to contend with some formula for power sharing, or else the country is not going to develop and the country will go nowhere. And Ghana will become a failed state. Probably they think, probably like Trump, that they can govern through authoritarianism and an ethnocracy. That's not going to work either. And so with all the oil money we'll get, what will happen is that oligarchs will emerge, Dr. Hines, and the middle class will become poor people, and the poor people would become indigent, and we'll be a country of very poor people and very rich people. No limit.
I can tell you what they think. They think they can govern forever because they think that Black people are so mentally inferior that they will accept their condition. That, you know, they will give them a $40,000 and buy their silence and push them back. They really believe that.
And a hamper.
Yes, they really do believe that. I, for one moment, and I'm sure you do not believe that, you know, we can go into Indian communities and fool Indian people. I don't think Norton believes that he can fool Indian people. But they really do believe they can fool Black people. And it is not so much that they are smart. It is they believe that we are not smart. And so part of the anger at you and others like myself and so on is that we are saying, but Black people are people too.
And we're educating our people.
And we are educating our people. Those old men who have now discovered what they always want to discover, and that is El Dorado, and to use El Dorado to empower and to build their wealth and to push Black people back into slavery. It ain't gonna happen, Ravi. It ain't gonna happen, Betoram, because we're gonna fight you all tooth and nail. It is not going to happen. I want you to put that in your old degenerated pipes and smoke it. Because we got some strong Black men and women who are going to fight you all. Even though we don't have state power, what we have is the power of the people. And we're going to fight you all. So get that in your heads. Tomorrow night, fighter Eric Phillips is going to be here. And we're going to take up this conversation.
Good.
My brother, Rickford, closing thoughts.
Well, my closing thoughts is that I want to see the new generation also picking up the torch. And so I want to urge those young men and women at the University of Guyana, those young men and women in high school who understand the importance of our heritage, our culture, where we come from, to pick up the torch that we are carrying now and start to develop themselves to be efficient, educated, well-equipped Afro-Guyanese leaders of the country. That's my closing thought. I want to start training our young people to say to them, don't be afraid of racists. Don't be afraid of the PPP. Don't be afraid of the Guyana Police Force because they want to frame you as a Black youth and they want to send their squads to kill you. A day will come when we will have the level of transformation powered by Generation Z, as we see in Bangladesh and we see in Kenya. I bet you there would be significant, consequential political transformation in those countries, and we can do it in Guyana too. So I want to start from now, and I want to ask you and Eric and the people in ACDA and IPADG and all the other organizations to start having programs at all levels, tertiary, high school, primary school, kindergarten, let us start teaching our young people from the very young age to be conscious about who they are as Afro-Guyanese and as Guyanese citizens, and that they are entitled to equality, and that equality and social justice and all the other rights to which we entitled are fundamental rights for which we must fight, and also equal rights, economic prosperity, social transformation, all those things. We must be part of it as the country develops and as the country tap more into the oil and gas resources. We want equality, and we must start teaching our young people to prepare for that, to demand it, and to live it.
To demand it and to live it. Brother Rickford, thank you very much for coming on tonight and sharing your story with us and giving us your perspective and your wisdom on other issues. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Good night, everybody. And I want to encourage everybody, those of you listening from Brooklyn and the tri-state area in New York, on next Sunday.
Talk to us about this Sunday in Brooklyn. Yes.
This Sunday, we have the Guyanese Guyanese Independence Parade. We'll be starting at 11 o'clock on Church and Brooklyn Avenue. That's the assembly point. We're going to have the parade proceed down Church Avenue. If I look tired, that's because of nights and nights of that sleeping but planning. Down Church Avenue to Utica Avenue. We make the right turn on Utica Avenue to Glenwood Road, where we'll end right there. There's a venue right there. We'll do the Independence concert. And tomorrow we'll be announcing a big artist. We have a number of Guyanese artists performing, including the incredible Natural Black. But we have an international artist that will be performing as well. We'll announce that person tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Rickford, and I encourage all of you in the tri-state area.
Oh, and by the way, Dr. Hines,
yes,
the government the PPP is trying to do exactly what they did in Guyana to ACDA by having this alternate event. They're trying to do the same thing with us. But the other event that they're sponsoring is coming next week, and we'll deal with that after our independence celebration.
Thank you very much, my brother. And to your audience, thank you. Thank you. We're in fighting mode. We're in fighting mode. Brother Eric is going to be here tomorrow, and we're going to be dealing with those who are sitting there and cheering a government that tell them, go catch those black people for $40,000. That's what Rafi Dev and Betoram and them are doing in the name of crossover vote. They don't want no crossover vote, and they're telling us about crossover vote. What they want to do is to cross over into the black territory and to enslave us, and it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen by the will of God and our ancestors. We are going to fight back, and we're going to fight back, and we are going to get our hands on power again. Two morning more.